Well, Tim asked me to speak. Tim asked me to speak today, and he didn't give me a topic to speak. It is a speaker's choice, so I thought, and I've spoken enough here. I'll try to give a short testimony of how the Lord has led us, how the Lord has led me throughout many years here. And again, I thought, and after this, we were going to have a baby shower, so I don't want to give an intense message or anything like that. So I'll try to keep it very short, and I try to keep it short and simple. So for the last, I think, 2 days, I've been having extreme throat ache and throat pain, and I self-diagnosed myself. It's not a bacteria. It's a viral throat pain. And yesterday I had some relief, and I was telling some people to pray because I had to share today. And then and some of them prayed for me, and some of them gave me some verses as encouragement. And then today morning, when I woke up early morning, I still had this extreme pain in my throat. And I said loudly, I'm going to speak anyway. Even if I have pain or not, I'm going to speak anyway. And I told the Lord the same thing. I'm going to speak anyway, even if I have the pain or not. So it's better to heal me before I do. So today, when I stand right now, I don't have any pain. So the Lord did answer that prayer. We'll try to see if this comes up. Okay. So, reflections. When as many of you know, we'll be moving from here in July, and when I look back, almost 7.5 years that we have been here, I think the Lord has led us. I should say, Lord has led us in different circumstances, and we could feel and experience the grace of God, the faithfulness of God throughout each of these circumstances. So the title that I put down here, Stories and Reflections, A Journey with the Lord, I think the most appropriate title would be, there are many, rising over problems or circumstances that is not ideal by the grace of God, depending completely on the promises of God. Not our strength, not my strength, not what I have done, not because I have all these things, because trusting in the Lord completely and being able to rise over circumstances, and that's pretty much what I want to share today. And I hope it will be an encouragement to you too. And when I stand here, I'm sure if I gave the chance to speak, if I asked people sitting here to come and speak, you have all different circumstances and things that you went through life, and how the Lord, testify how the Lord was faithful to you in all of these areas, and I'm well aware of that. So I think the things that I'm sharing today, I hope it will be an encouragement to you. It will be a motivation for you to trust the Lord, and that's all I want today. So this is one of my favorite quote from William Carey. William Carey was a missionary from England to India, and this was the last or one of the last things that he said. You have been saying much about Dr. Carey and his work. When I'm gone, say nothing about Dr. Carey. Speak about Dr. Carey's Savior. I think it's not what I have done. It's not what I have been able to do it, or it's not what we have been able to do it. It's strictly of the Lord. How the Lord is able to do, and how the Lord is able to take care of each one of us as we go through different circumstances and problems or situations that are not ideal in life. And that's my aim today. Speak about Dr. Carey's Savior, and just like that, I'll probably put in, speak about our Savior, the Lord Jesus Himself. And I think we were discussing in the Sunday school today, the motivation of our Christian faith, the motivation of our running, the running of the race, the motivation for that is the Lord Jesus Himself. And that's the person today I want to lift up, and not what I have done through. I think Mike shared today early during the announcements. I shouldn't say testimony in a sense of how I became saved or anything, but more than that, because salvation and all these things was not a new concept for me. because I've been born into that for a long time. So I want to share again how the Lord worked in different areas of my life. And today when I stand before you guys all, if I could point out one reason why God blessed us, or all the blessings that I've been able to enjoy in my life, if I could point to one reason, it is because of prayer. And not just I specifically point out prayers of my parents. When I was born and I was going to college and schools and things like that, and I could always see prayer a big part of our family, big part of my family, even though I didn't really care much during that time. I could early morning when I wake up, I would see my mom praying for a long time. She would get up early morning and would be praying. And then I come back from college or school, then I would see my dad praying. So any blessings, if I could point out anything that I have experienced in my life, a good thing that I've experienced in my life, is totally because of prayer. And specifically prayers of my parents and obviously other people as well. But these were the examples that I had when I was growing up. Prayer, 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 prayer. For every circumstances, prayer. Every situation, prayer. And again, as I point out, anything that I have achieved in my life, anything that I have experienced in my life, any good thing that I have experienced in my life, it is because of prayer. And nothing that I can boast. And prayers of my parents especially. And that was a big example for me, a big motivation for me to, whenever I face something individual, a problem in my life, to always come before the Lord and just pray, continuously pray, and to see how the Lord works out, not in a way that I would imagine, but in His ways, and how marvelous those answers are. And for that, I always thank my Lord. And as I get older and older, as many of you sitting here would do the same thing. I thank the Lord for my parents, because they showed that example of prayer, of daily prayer, morning and evening, just prayer and prayer and prayer. Now, as I said earlier, as I become older, there are many people sitting here who did not have that experience, who did not have that blessing of a Christian atmosphere, a Christian family, or a Christian parent who is always praying for you. And I would just motivate them, I would just encourage them to pray for others, pray for the people in the assembly, pray for the young people in the assembly, be a spiritual father, be a spiritual mother to all these people, and continuously lift them up in prayer, because those can do great things in life. Those can do those can open great doors in people's life. And many of my spiritual walk with the Lord, many of my spiritual growth in the Lord, I would specifically give my credit to prayers, especially the prayers of my parents. And as I was growing up in India, back in India, and I moved to the US when I was 18 years old. So that was in 2015. One of the verses that always kept, that I learned throughout my life in camps and Sunday schools and things like that was this verse: "Those who honor me, I will honor, but those who despise me, I will be disdained, or me will be disdained." So every time when I try to make a decision, whether it be career, whether it be college, whether it be job, or anything like that, this would be the verse that always comes to my mind. This would be the filter that I would make. Is it honoring the Lord? And if I'm honoring the Lord will honor me. And this was the verse that always motivated me. Even though when I stand here, I cannot say that I did it 100%, because I failed most of the times. But there are certain things that the Lord helped me to do it, and because of this verse, those who honor me, I will honor, and those who despise me will be disdained. When I was growing up, I think I'll just share an introduction. I was growing up in India. I was born in a Christian family, so the Bible, salvation, it's not a new thing for me. I was born into it. I knew about it. I knew everything about it. I knew the stories. I knew all those things. So no one had to teach me anything, because the moment I was born in, I was in the assembly, and I was going to Sunday school, camps, children's clubs, you name it, I was there. Anything there was there, I was there. So, I had if I may point out the time when I had a personal relationship with the Lord, it would be probably in a vacation Bible school at the age of 6, where I raised my hand when the person asked me, "Do you want to get saved?" Now, and then I was baptized again at the age of 10, close to 2008, 2007. But my a real relationship with the Lord, a real encounter with the Lord did not come any of those years. It came all the way when I was a senior in high school. That is the time when I had that real experience with the Lord, a recommitment with the Lord. And then that is around 2013, 2014, and then 2015. We moved as a family to the U.S. This was the verse that always encouraged me when I was growing up. Psalm 91 verse 14 to 16. Because he cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I'll be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. This is the first verse, in a sense. I took it as a promise when I was reading the scripture. For the first initial promise, if I would point out, which was that, I would probably say these verses in Psalm 91, verse 14 to 16. So that is my early life back in India. So one of the turning point in deciding my career, because I was growing up in India. I was only looking for two things. One was engineering or medicine. These were the only two things I was going into, and I always wanted to go into engineering, civil or architectural engineering and things like that. But a certain thing happened, and that was in a meeting with this doctor. His name is Dr. Christopher. He lives in Texas, and during that time, he was a missionary doctor back in India. And I remember him coming to the assembly that we were fellowshipping, and he was giving a camp or a conference, and he was giving a talk. So someone invited me. I was at the junior year of in school or something, and someone invited me to be part of this meeting. And I slept through almost throughout that meeting. I don't remember anything until the last sentence that he said, or until one sentence that he said in that meeting. And he said, "It is because of my career I was able to do all these things for the Lord." And that was the only thing that I remember from this meeting or this speaker. Because of my career, I was able to do these things for the Lord. That was my first experience. I wondered. That was my first. I thought about at least about medicine. I was like, if he said that, I never cared at that time about the Lord or anything like that. But if he said that, there might be something more to it. And that was my first motivation in deciding my career, and this was because of him. His background, he studied in a medical school here at Mayo Clinic, and he moved back to India. He was a missionary doctor in India for a long time, and then and right now he's in Dallas, Texas. And this was the motivation for me as a young junior or senior in high school in deciding my career. And that one sentence that this doctor made in that sentence, even though I slept through all the rest of those meetings. And the thing was, because of my career, I was able to do all these things for the Lord. And he was keep on explaining, how he was able to share the gospel with all the patients, and he was able to help the patients and all these things. So that is the first anchor point for me. Changing of direction from engineering to medicine. I was like, medicine. I think that would be a good choice. If he's able to do it, then I would be able to do it. That is my first motivation. So in July 8th, in 2015, we moved to the United States. We initially came to Houston, Texas. I was there in 6 months, and I was, it is a difficult thing. It's not a big difficulty, but it was difficult in adjusting to the educational system and all these things in the U.S. So I had this. I had to meet with the counselor and things like that. So I prayed almost 1.5 weeks. I asked the Lord, what direction I should go. I want to do medicine, but this sentence is in my mind with this doctor. What should I do? And I think I prayed almost 1.5 weeks, and the Lord spoke to me at that time in my limited knowledge. The Lord spoke to me again from the book of Job, chapter 11, verse 7 to 9. Book of Job, chapter 11, and verse 7 to 9. It says, "Can you fathom the depths of God or discover the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than the heavens. What can you do? They are deeper than Sheol. What can you know? Their measure is longer than the earth and wider than the sea." I think after a long time, this was the one moment that I experienced the Lord was really talking to me. The Lord was really directing me. And I was specifically praying for this direction. Lord, I'm meeting with this person like 2 weeks after. I wanted real confirmation. What should I do? And I was praying, Lord, if it is this, Lord, you should talk to me. And at that time, I was praying this looking into thin air. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know what was the next step. All I knew was this was. And for the past 7 years, as I go explain, for the past 7 years, whenever there was a discouragement, whenever there was problems, whenever there was things that didn't go well, this was the one verse that held me together. Job chapter 11 and verse 7. Can you fathom the depths of God or discover the limits of the Almighty? And from there in December 15th, 2015, we moved to California, and that's when we started to come here in fellowship with Bethel Chapel back in 2015. My dad's sister, they were in Houston, that's why we came there, and then my dad's brother, they were here as a family, so that's why we came here in California. So as I was studying again, as the Lord started to teach me many things, I went to Crafton Hills Community College, and then there's again a decision of UCR or Cal State. I was almost set to go into UCR, got the scholarship, everything full paid, but again the Lord directed, said, again the Lord said, you need to change from UCR to Cal State, and I went to Cal State. But one of the major events that happened that changed. One of the major events that really a testing period that is really happening was during that 2018 when I was transferring to Cal State. Was during the summer where my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. That was in May of 2015. So I think the lung cancer was. I didn't know much about medical at that time, so we went to the doctors and things like that. So we went to the first appointment with the oncologist, and he says, fine, it's just a simple stage 1, we can remove it, that's fine. And again, so he said, oh, we had to do a PET scan, MRI, and stuff like that. And then we went to the second appointment. Well, what happened was during the PET scan, they found different other spots in the lungs and throughout the body. And all of a sudden, the stage 1 cancer became a stage 4 cancer. And that was Cal State. That was during my transition to Cal State from Crafton Hills College. And I was in the middle of transfer during summer, May, June, July, during that time. And all of a sudden, the stage 1 cancer became a stage 4 cancer. And they were saying, and they told me, and I think I was there at the appointment, during the second appointment, I said, we don't know what to do. There is nothing much we can do about it. We can try many things, but I don't think you can. There's a chance and things like that. But they didn't confirm it because they still had to do biopsies of all the spots and things like that. So I came back home. I was talking with my mom, and we were thinking about it. And in my limited knowledge at that time, I definitely thought this was stage 4. That's it. This is it. There is no more going forward from this. I mean, you can get scans wrong. I mean, you can get scans terribly wrong or anything like that. I really thought that is the time. That's it. It's stage 4 cancer. There is no hope. There's nothing going forward. But even at that, when I was discouraged, when I didn't believe, during that time, again, it was my mom who said, and she was the one who encouraged and said, this was the verse that encouraged us. It says Mark 5:35 to 36. It's talking about Jairus' daughter in the context, and said, while he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, your daughter is dead, why trouble the teacher any further? But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, do not fear, only believe. Do not fear, only believe. So she encouraged me. Again, I was not 100% convinced. I knew it was stage 4. There's nothing going back from there. Because it is terribly, you can't get those scans wrong. And by the time we went to the second biopsy thing, whatever happened, I don't know what happened, but it came back negative. So all of a sudden, a stage 4 cancer again became a stage 1 cancer. And that's how the Lord, there was a time when I was able to really believe, really walk in faith. That was the baby steps of faith during that time. And it was my mom who she was the only person. Everyone else around us, everyone else was convinced. Even me was convinced it is not going to happen. She was the only person who believed. Do not fear, only believe. And all of a sudden, the stage 4 cancer became stage 1 cancer, and he had the surgery and nothing else, and he's still alive. So the Lord was faithful in that. Many times when the thing, jobs was a main concern for me whenever I was in college, and the decision I made was, at that time I was working with, I was helping out at Snipe on Saturday nights, and every job that I went to, the condition was simple: I will not work on Sundays or Saturday nights. And every application that I put in was that, I will never work on Sunday morning, I will miss Sunday, or I will work Saturday night because I have to go to Snipe. And it was a scary step, but when I took that step of faith, to this day, the Lord never had me work on those days. And during the COVID times, the number of meetings increased. I was involved in many other things. And in any of these areas, in the last 7 years, I have to work a Sunday morning. I never had to work a Sunday morning. The Lord was faithful, because all the jobs that I got, every job I got, I was able to make my own schedule. The Lord, did that, and I took that one step of faith. And I don't know where I got that faith, but it was that one faith. I never want to miss a Sunday morning worship and Snipe on Saturday night. And I did it, and the Lord was faithful in doing that. There was one time when I was studying at Cal State, and I was involved in a research, and the funding got cancelled. And then I had to add a job. The Lord specifically told me, do not apply for jobs. Wait. I heard that voice. I knew I was going wrong. But again, in my own flesh, I thought, I cannot do that. I have to work. So I applied for a job, and I got the job. It was the most terrible experience that I had for 1 year. It was the most dissatisfied job that I had. And I came back home one night. I said, Lord, I know I disobeyed you. If you can bring something good out of it, please bring it good out of it. What happened was, they put me in charge of making reports and things like that. I was working in San Bernardino County in the Department of Public Health. And they made me in charge of making reports. Their policy was, you cannot watch movies, or you cannot watch any video, but you can hear. So for 1 year, the contract was signed, so I had to work 1 year in that county. And all I did was, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., I would come in, do the reports, hear messages after messages after messages after messages for 1 year. And the Lord gave me an opportunity to study the scripture through that. And it was the most dissatisfied job. I disobeyed God, and I knew I was going against the Lord. I knew the Lord was saying, wait. But I never listened to Him. I went and applied, I got it. But the Lord was able to change it for good. And one of the most challenging times in my life was taking this exam. And I don't know how many times I failed this exam. Medical college admission test. And it was the toughest exam that I faced in my life. Many times, I asked the Lord, why did you make me choose this career? I would have been perfectly happy with other careers, and I kept, I had to write multiple, 3 or 4 times, and I couldn't get over it. And the Lord again strengthened me through different things, different people around me, and finally, there were many people in the assembly here who, when I was working or I was taking the test, who was praying for me during when I was taking the test. And the Lord kept on encouraging me to go forward, and it was a terrible test. I didn't do very good, but I finally was able to crack the score that I wanted. And then this whole experience of applying to medical school and things like that is a very tough experience. And it is a 1 year process, as I mentioned. It's a 1 year process, and I asked the Lord, what should I do next? What should I do next? And the Lord said, this was in January 1st of 2023, and I'm still listening to hearing from schools here and there, going into interviews and things like that. On January 1, 2023, the Lord spoke again, and He spoke to this verse. Now Joshua is old and well along in years, and the Lord said to him, you're old and well along in years, but very much of the land remains to be possessed. And I read the verse, I was like, the Lord was saying to me, there's something more to do here, I never expected the Lord was calling me to a different place, in a sense. And then I said, and after January 1st, 2023, there's nothing again. And January 14th, that was my birthday, and as usual, I took the quiet time and asked the Lord, Lord, you promised this, I haven't heard anything after that. The Lord again spoke to me on that day, January 14th. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to the house of Israel had failed. Everything was fulfilled. And the Lord encouraged me again. And then, so as I told the Lord, from January 15th to 30th, Lord, you have 50, and I want to obey you. I want to happily obey you. But you got to give me a sign. You have to show me something about this. I am not waiting for this anymore. And then one of the doctors that I was working with said, because I had got the score and things like that, he said to me, just let me know, I will get you into a school, not in a school, but an interview. And I was so tempted to say yes to that. But the Lord said, wait. And from January 15 to 30, I said to the Lord, you have 15 days. I didn't demand God, but I said to the Lord, I want to happily obey you, but you got to give me some sign. You have to give me some sign in the next 15 days. And I said, just like Gideon asked the Lord for a sign, I asked the Lord, you got to give me something. You have to give me something. So I pray, so every morning from 14th, 15th, I'll say, Lord, 14 days remaining, Lord, 13 days remaining, Lord, 10 days remaining, Lord, 7 days remaining, Lord, 5 days remaining. Finally, and I said to the Lord, if you give me one interview between these days, I will be sure that you're going to give me an admission, so I don't have to go that route. And I was so tempted to go that route. And every morning I would wake up and during quiet time I say, Lord, 5 days, 10 days, 8 days, Lord, you have spoken. And on January 27th, the 3 days before January 30th, the Lord spoke to me. The Lord spoke to me again. The Lord spoke to me a verse again. And on that very day, I got the interview for the medical school. And the Lord kept the promise. And I was thinking, how did the Lord do all those things? In my unfaithfulness. These are all the things that the Lord did in my unfaithfulness. If I was faithful, how much more the Lord would do. And that's how God got the admission. And then I think there's two more things. I'll say two more things. One is my sister. Many of you know about my sister. She's right now studying nursing in India. And the Lord spoke to us in 2021. Says you got to go this route. And the Lord said, and we said no. We rejected it. We said that it's not going to happen. It's not possible. And then the Lord said in 2022, the Lord again said, you got to go this route. You got to go this route. And finally, we had no other option but to say to the Lord, yes, we will go this route. At that time, due to COVID and things like that, our citizenship and all these processes were delayed, and we had no. The citizenship things were getting so much, and we took the flight ticket for August 1st to go back to India. And we are sitting here in June, and we had no paperwork. She doesn't have any paperwork. She's on a green card, but she doesn't have any citizenship or anything like that. And if she goes back, she has to come back in between and all these things. And the Lord again spoke to us in 1 Chronicles 16 and said, and when they went from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another kingdom, he suffered no man to do them wrong. I was sitting there June 19th and 20th with nothing in front of us. And August 1st, we had booked the ticket. July 21st, 1 week before the Lord gave the citizenship, 3 days before the Lord gave the passport, 1 day before the travel, the Lord gave the visa to go to India. The Lord was faithful in that. The other thing, when I came to Bethel in 2015, one of the, I was praying, Lord, bring something, bring people together, and so we had many people, and I think that's when me and Todd and some of the other people came together, and we had this relentless thing. We wanted a renewed change in the assembly. We wanted a renewed change in prayer meetings. We wanted a renewed change in all the things of the assembly. And so I have been praying for a long time, Lord, bring people together with the same mindset. And that's when me, Todd, we kept on speaking with each other, talking to each other about, a renewed change. Lord, we were relentless. We wanted a change. We wanted a renewed change in the breaking of bread. We wanted a renewed change in the meetings. We wanted a renewed change. We didn't want a change, but we wanted a renewal of heart. And when I look back in the 7, 6, 5 years, and I was talking to Todd about it, how the Lord has changed it, how the Lord has changed, brought many changes to the assembly, to the breaking of bread meeting, and all these things, and how the Lord was faithful in all of those things. And this is just some of the things that the Lord has done in my life. And this is the last verse that I want to share with you today. 1 Samuel 7:12. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen, and called its name Ebenezer, saying, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." And here the context is Samuel is talking to the whole nation. It is individual in a sense, but as a whole nation. And that's the verse that I want to give to the whole assembly. Thus far the Lord has helped us, and He's able and He's faithful to lead us forward in every circumstances, in every situations that we come together. And we can race over, we can overcome situations by the promises of God. And in our life, these are just simple things that the Lord has done. And if I could say many things, the time won't be enough. But these are the simple things that the Lord has done by just relying on the promises of God, one after the other, one after the other. The impossible things, things that are thought impossible, but it is possible with God. And one of the greatest aim for me, as I go, as I said, we'll be moving to Montana for medical school. There are probably 100 students will be coming there. And my aim is at least share the gospel once with all these 100 people in the next 4 years. And as I said, when the Lord told me that verse in Joshua 13, there is more land to be possessed. I never thought it was this far. I always thought it was something near, but the Lord had different ideas. So the Lord is faithful, and He's able to do. So this is just a small testimony from my part, and how the Lord has helped us all these years. I just want to thank the Lord for that, and may the Lord be glorified. This last